The old town of Palma is quite compact and easy to explore on foot. The Paseo del Bon is a promenade with cafes and high-end shops on both sides. At the top of the promenade there are further cafes in a square called Plaza de la Tortuga. The square gets its name from the fountain where the main column is supported on 4 tortoises. Palma has some really interesting architecture, but with the narrow streets and the overhanging trees, it can be a challenge to capture it on film. Some of the shopping streets in the old town were really narrow, and many were pedestrianised, although that did not stop electric scooters from nipping through. Plaza de España is a very busy public square. It is dominated by the equestrian statue of King James I, the Conqueror. In another corner of the square there is a weather station featuring a thermometer, a hygrometer and a barometer. Behind are various fast food restaurants. This Art Nouveau building dates from 1909 and shows a Gaudi influence. Wandering through the narrow streets, it was worth stopping from time to time to look through gateways into tranquil little private courtyards. Although the cathedral is Palma's jewel in the crown, there are at least a dozen other fine churches in the city. St. Francis is both a monastery and a church. The Gothic cloister has been declared a national monument. The church itself has 1 central nave and 8 side chapels. It features a monumental Baroque altarpiece. There is an attractive high vaulted ceiling and a rosette window at the far end. Not far away was the church of Santa Eulalia. It allowed visitors to climb the bell tower for views of the old town rooftops and down to the adjacent square, which is named after the church. The interior of the church is notable for its Baroque altar and side chapels with paintings from the 15th century. The 14th century royal palace of La Almudena looks more like a fort than a palace, and in fact the name comes from the Arabic word for fortress. The main entrance to the palace leads to the King's Courtyard or Courtyard of Honour. Part of the building is currently the headquarters of the military. Although it is listed as a royal residence, the family do not live there, but only use it for official reception purposes. The rooms on the ground floor are sparsely decorated with giant tapestries. The royal staircase leads up to the royal apartments, which are better furnished. There is one grand room where the proportions look all wrong because it is the top half of what was originally a vast hall. Below the palace is a small pond, which is all that is left of the original royal docks. The Sort del Rey gardens beneath the palace make a pleasant place to sit beside the fountains, watching the world go by. The Plaza Mayor is a traditional grand square that holds regular markets and is used for various festivities. Below it hides a shopping centre and another of Palma's underground car parks. The city's town hall dates from the 17th century. In the same square is an amazing 600-year-old olive tree. The 10th century Arab baths are fortunately well signposted because they're reached through a maze of narrow streets. The roof was supported by a dozen columns in all different designs, probably having been salvaged from the ruins of Roman buildings. The courtyard garden would have been used to cool off after the hot bath. Not far from the baths was this section of the old city wall, currently under renovation to create a viewpoint of the bay. And just along the seafront promenade from it was the first of a series of fine sandy beaches. Heading back along the seafront to the marina, I came to this fine structure, built as the city's trade exchange back in the 15th century, when Mallorca was a major maritime trading centre. As trade declined over time, the building changed its use according to need and is now a cultural centre with temporary exhibitions. Given its origin, it is a really attractive building with the slim spiralling columns and the ribbed vaulted ceiling. Beside the centre is a small square with multiple cafes offering tapas, pizzas, paellas and ice creams. Just beyond the western end of the old city walls was the Torrent de Sa Ribera. This is the channel that carries away the city's floodwater after rain. To its west is a public park with a fountain, sundial and a monument to sailors who died when their ship was torpedoed in the Civil War. A little further west there are restored windmills standing on a high piece of ground overlooking the port. They are a view that meets yachts and cruise ships to welcome them to Palma. In turn, looking out from them provides a panoramic view of the port.